I'm Hao. A lot of you might know me as the developer of kableExtra, but today I won't tell anything about kableExtra. I will tell you how we can use RStudio Addin to improve our lives. I mean, not only for ourselves, but also for the teams that you are working in. So here are the links to the slides and also to some code examples we're going to discuss later. Feel free to write it down or take a picture. I hope I can make it bigger. I should have. What's that? So before I start my talk, I want to give you guys a little bit of information about who we are and our technical infrastructure. I'm working in this institution, and we are a group of Asian researchers located in Boston. We don't have a very big data group, but we have a very diverse background in terms of culture and training. And we love everything RStudio made, and we are a big fan of like RStudio server, and we have our self-hosted RStudio server, and we also have Connect. And so how many people sitting here have used RStudio Addins before? Like just, pretty much. Yeah, great. So for those who have never tried it before, RStudio Addin, they are these little buttons on this drop-down menu that is accessible through by clicking this Addins button around your toolbar. Here are some facts. So RStudio released this feature about 2 years ago, and I won't read through all these things, but the primary goal of RStudio Addin is to help us as data scientists or not your manager. Well, if your manager is using RStudio, he might use RStudio Addin as well, but it's something I want to shout out here is like RStudio Addins, it has to be delivered in the form of R packages. One R package can hold multiple add-ins. But something I want to echo here is like, don't be afraid of terms like developing R package. I will show you later on, like this thing is super, super simple. You can do it like within 1 minute, and you can even try it out tonight after this talk. So in this talk, first of all, we are going to start with a very basic introduction of how we can create our RStudio add-in. And I'm going to show you a few add-ins we created at our workplace and some add-ins we love from the community. So let's start. Last week, I sent out a tweet on Twitter let me show you, this add-in. It's called a switch RStudio theme. I guess I should have zoomed it. Like, switch RStudio theme. If you click that, it goes to dark. If you click it again, it goes to white. This feature is super helpful for me because, I mean, if I'm doing all my programming job, I hope I'm like a dark theme hacker. But sometimes if I want to show my results to my coworkers, I would like to show the white normal version of me. So it seems like a lot of people on Twitter, they are very curious about like how can we make this thing. In that tweet I was saying like we can actually make this thing within 1 minute. So let's now see how we can do that. So basically what we are trying to do here is, so this is RStudio's options, like global options where you can set the themes. What we are trying to do is like we are gonna switch between these clouds and cloud midnight, that goes. So the first step, so here I'm gonna talk about the first step of creating this add-in. The first thing I want to mention, I want to like put this into your mind that to the end, RStudio add-ins, they are just R functions. Everything you can do within the R function, you can do it, like you can just bundle it with a button, RStudio, and make it an add-in. So we use this RStudio API package. There is a function called getThemeIn4, and we see it tells us the name of the theme we are currently using, and there's an option called dark, and tells me right now it's, well, when I was rendering this document, it was false. And then we did some very basic, and it should be the first class in your like R class, like how to do this. We assign this value to current theme. If this one is true, if this dark is true, then we goes to clouds. If dark is false, then we goes to midnight. And we assign that value to next theme. And after that, there is another function, magic function, in our RStudio API called apply theme. And we send that value to this function. So we can literally do that in 3 lines of code. And after that, we just wrap it up with a function call, and we save it somewhere in the R folder. So that's our first step. Very easy, right? Everyone gets it, right? And now you have a function that is working. In fact, if you run that function inside your console, it will just change your RStudio theme. And now you want RStudio to know that, okay, we have an add-in that is available, or you want to bind it with something. How can we do that? Inside this, read after me, like inst RStudio addins.dcf, write the following 4 lines of code. Name something, which is a name you will see in the buttons. Description, which is a message you will see when you hover your mouse over. And binding, this is the most important one. It tells you which R function it will run. And interactive, well, if your add-in has an interface, then it's interactive, otherwise false. So here is a minimal structure for our RStudio add-in like package. So we have this R file we just talked about, and these addins.dcf, that's where we define these add-ins. And then we have a description. For those who have ever tried to write an R package, I mean, you know that we need this description file to be a package. Basically, it has some information like who wrote this package, how can we call it, things like that. Don't be worried about it. And there's even a function in useDeth that will help you to set up a new package within 1 line of code. So only 3 files. And literally, like after we have these 3 files, you can have an add-in that is possible. That is like doing the things someone think it will be a magical effect. And another example I'm going to show you here is like bookmarks. You might wonder why we need a bookmark. Because I mean, we have bookmarks in the browser. It works perfectly. But if you are working inside a big group, or if you are well, for example, at my workplace, I am a RStudio administrator, and after we set it up, this RStudio server, there is some certain information you want other people to know. For example, where can we access the shared drive, and where is our Git server? So in the end, I wrote a documentation using Bookdown, and we published on the RStudio Connect. However, I cannot control other people's browser, right? I just cannot hack into their computer and do those things. Something I can do is I can write a R package and pack this link up as a button and pin it on the top of their add-in list. So in the end, I can just send them an email and say, okay, do you see that button in the RStudio? You click that and click the second link, and you will be brought to a documentation site. You guys who have used Bookdown before, Bookdown even supports search. If they have any issues, you can just go ahead and search it. Very simple feature, but it's proven to be very useful for a lot of our colleagues. Guess how many lines of code we need? We only need 1 line of code. There is a function called RStudio API viewer, and just put that link in, and that's it. That's literally 1 line of code. That will solve your issue. And one issue I have with RStudio add-in is if you are really a big RStudio add-in fan, you install a lot of fancy add-ins, and in the end, you will have something, well, this is my work machine, so not that crazy. You'll have a add-in like this, like that, Although RStudio provide us like a search feature, but I hate to type, So I want something that can help us to pin my favorite add-in at the very top. For those people who are wearing green shirts, like RStudio people, like here's a feature request, please do that. But for now, what you can do is that you can re-export these awesome add-ins from other packages by simply once again, another one line of code. For example, I really like Yihui's Sharingan package, and there is a infinite moon reader add-in. So basically what I do is I execute this function, I'm typing the function name here, and I assign it to this open Sharingan function I just randomly created. And that's it. You can do that literally just by doing that. So you may wonder, how can I know which function was a function that was called by the add-in? One trick is like, if you, for example, here, if you execute the original infinite moon reader, and you will see, okay, well, I'm not inside a book down folder, but you will see this is a function. Just copy it, paste it into a function that you name it, and then define like the existence of this add-in, and that's it. That's everything you need to do. So I already showed you 3 easy examples, but this one is a kind of a complicated one. I put it here because I feel like reference management thing is always tricky for a lot of us when we are trying to write our markdown. So our solution is use a combination of our cross-reference, which is from our OpenSci, and this citr from Frederick Ost. Frederick Ost, sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. So let me show you an example you will see. And in this demo I provided, you see I create an internal package, and I export and re-export, so right now it's pinned at the top of my list. Also, one trick I want to mention here is like, for your package, you definitely, there's a very simple but kind of dirty trick. Start it with an A. So first step is like you start this add-in from cross-reference, and you see it has an interactive interface which is created by Shiny. And the example I want to try here, for those who attended the R Markdown workshop, you might have already seen this, but let me search Hardy's tidy data, internet. Okay, I find the first one, and you see there is a link. We can click this link to make sure that is a right copy, and you see I got linked to this Journal of Statistical Software. So, okay, we find the right one, right? And we can click this button, add to my citations, and after a while, since it's using all, like behind the scenes, using all this API call, it says added. Well, it takes longer today, but yeah. If we click this, we'll be able to see, okay, this bibtext file is already added here, and just by searching. And if we create a new R Markdown document, if we want to cite this citation, Hardy's tidy data, which is an awesome paper, I recommend everybody to read. We can use this add-in from citr. So basically what it does is like it goes into this file and then find all these RStudio, find all these references. You can basically just click that and insert a citation, and that's it. I'm just putting it here. It's a great example to show you how you can complete this kind of complex task by using add-ins. Okay, let's go back to our talk. We have several other add-in use cases. I will just quickly go through them. We don't have enough time to go through them one by one. But so for example, for the first one, I mean, as a RStudio admin, we sometimes need to tell, or let's say, for those people who use ODBC to connect to different database, we know that we can set up our profile inside this hidden file, the .odbc.ini file, and then you can just use RStudio's connection panel to connect to different database just by clicking. It was extremely tricky, like in any version of RStudio before 1.2 preview, that RStudio, previously, it is not possible, well, it's not very easy to access hidden files. But right now, there is an option to turn it on. But still, it won't be easier to tell your colleagues to click a button on the RStudio add-in panel. And that button will bring up these RI file, and you can just send them these login credentials, and they will just put that number in, put those information in, and they will be able to connect to desired database without too much headache on training and things. We also developed some add-ins we installed Octave, an alternative to MATLAB, which charges money. So we installed Octave on this server, and we have an add-in that basically just starts a terminal using the RStudio API, the terminal section. It starts a terminal and then start these Octave automatically for me. One trick is usually if you want to send commands from the text editor to our console, you hit Command Enter, and this thing is I think it's Alt Command Enter. I might get it wrong, but you can check the hotkey. Yeah, and something I want to mention here is about this R2 cluster package that we are currently developing. Because for those who are working in academia, sometimes we need to use access some high performance cluster to do some really computational heavy work. These kind of things is if you use it every day, you know how to use it. If you don't use it if you just use it for one time, then it's okay to go through all the documentation. But I mean, the worst case is you use it every once in a while, and I keep forgetting how to do that. So basically, we create this add-in that will help us. So we use Shiny modules. So basically, it will save your username and some ports, these kind of things within your home directory, and use this information to help you to log in. And it has pre-populated commands here. When you click this play button, you will send these commands to RStudio terminal and execute it. You have the option whether or not to execute it, but yeah, you get the idea. And also it has a panel to help us to request certain service. I mean, if you have used these HPCs before, you know that it's complicated. That's why we need this add-in. So take-home messages. First thing, if I can only present for 10 seconds, I will only say these things loud. Creating RStudio add-in is really, really easy, and it's really, really fun. If you find that, okay, there are a lot of fancy add-ins, well, that's not because creating add-in is difficult. It's because, well, it's either a Shiny app or it does a lot of amazing R jobs behind the thing. It's not add-in. Add-in is super easy. You can do it tonight. Second, because it's so easy, you can even do it for personal use. In fact, I feel for a lot of us, I mean, I started as a very plain R user before. I did not develop R packages until a few years ago. But if you have never created an R package, it is actually a very good starting point. Although it sounds weird, but it is a very good starting point because in this case, you don't need to work, since it's for your personal use, you don't need to worry about any documentations, you don't need to worry about namespace and a lot of these kind of tricky things. Get started tonight and do it. I've already showed you the code, and yeah. Also, if you are working in a big group, this is a great tool for teams to form standardized practice. Because, I mean, keeping good documentation, we always know that keeping good documentation is the key to success for a team. But if you compare the method, you give someone a page of steps to follow, or you write an add-in that packs up these 10 steps on that page. Like which one is easier? Of course, like I would rather just click a button, right? And really, in the end, I would just want to give credits to my teammates, especially these 3 gentlemen listed on the left side and our money provider. And thank you.
So we have time for a few questions for Hound. My colleague over here will throw the throwable microphone over to whoever has a question. Let's go. We have one back there.
No, I've hit too many people today.
Thanks, mate. Definitely learned a lot from that talk. I was wondering if there are any other features that you feel like are lacking or that RStudio could improve with Addins, apart from that one that you mentioned.
Well, some features, well, it's actually not about like Addin itself, but rather RStudio API, because Addins can interact with the interface with the RStudio interface through the RStudio API. If we can have more options open through the API, although it might sound risky, but it might give us more options to do with the add-in. It will open us up tons of fun and tons of possibility.
Thanks.